The call from my sister came on a perfect autumn morning while I was washing Gran's old Mustang in the driveway. That car meant everything to me, not just because it was a cherry red 1965 classic that turned heads wherever I went, but because it was the last gift Gran gave me before she passed. Sylvia? Callie's voice had that sugary sweet tone she only used when she wanted something. You're my favorite big sister. I'm your only sister, I replied, running the chamois over the hood one last time. What's up? I've been thinking about what Gran would have wanted for us. You know, spreading our wings, living life to the fullest. I smiled, remembering Gran's actual words. Look after your sister, Sylvia. She's got a heart of gold but the impulse control of a magpie in a jewelry store. That was Gran, always wrapping hard truths in humor. Callie, just say what you want. Well, I was wondering if maybe we could revisit the whole estate arrangement. I mean, I'm 28 now, not some kid who needs managing. I sighed, setting down my cleaning supplies. We've been over this. Gran made me executor for a reason. The monthly allowance is more than fair. But Eli and I have been planning this amazing trip. With what money? I interrupted, already knowing where this was heading. We've been saving. Well, sort of. Look, can't you just release some of my inheritance early? Please? I leaned against the Mustang's warm hood. That's not how this works. Gran structured it this way to protect you, and honestly, to protect the money from you. You always act so superior just because Gran trusted you more. Callie's sweet tone vanished. It's not fair that you get to control everything. I'm not controlling everything. I'm following Gran's wishes. There's a difference. Whatever. I have to go. Eli's waiting. The call ended abruptly, and I stood there in my driveway, water dripping from the chamois onto my sneakers. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Callie just called. Go easy on her? I texted back, always do. That evening, I sat in Gran's study, now my home office, reviewing estate paperwork with Elisa, my lawyer and friend. The room still smelled like Gran's lavender hand cream. Everything's in order, Elisa said, shuffling through documents. The trust is secure, and you're managing it exactly as your grandmother intended. Sometimes I wonder if I'm being too strict with Callie. Elisa looked up sharply. Your sister spent $3,000 on crystal healing sessions last month. Trust me, you're not too strict. I laughed, but it was hollow. She means well, she's just impulsive, reckless, a human money shredder. I was going to say free-spirited. Elisa snorted. You're too nice, Sylvia. That's why your grandmother chose you as executor. She knew you'd be fair but firm. My phone buzzed again, another text from Callie. Love you, sis. Oh no, I muttered. She's using heart emojis. She's definitely up to something. Want my professional opinion? Elisa gathered her papers. Whatever she's planning, don't let her guilt you into anything. Your grandmother gave you power of attorney for good reason. I walked Elisa out, then spent some time in the garage with the Mustang. Gran taught me to drive in this car, taught me about responsibility and consequences in this car. A car like this, she'd said, is freedom and obligation all rolled into one beautiful package, just like family. Later that night, I called Dad. How's my favorite daughter? He answered. Don't let Callie hear you say that. Ha, you know I love you both equally, even if one of you gives me significantly fewer headaches. Did Callie tell you what she wanted the money for? Something about a trip. I tried not to get details. Plausible deniability. I ran my fingers along the spines of Gran's books. Am I doing the right thing, Dad? Being so strict with her money? Your grandmother knew what she was doing when she put you in charge. Trust her judgment, sweetheart. After we hung up, I sat in Gran's old armchair, watching darkness settle over the driveway, where the Mustang gleamed under the security light. Something about Callie's call bothered me, but I couldn't put my finger on what. I should have known then that the calm wouldn't last. Should have recognized the warning signs in those heart emojis and that syrupy voice. But sometimes the biggest storms come when the sky looks clearest. And my sister? She was about to prove just how accurate Gran's magpie comparison had been. I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped into my garage the next morning. The empty space where the Mustang should have been seemed to mock me. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone, dialing Callie's number. She answered on the first ring, island music playing in the background. "Morning, sis. Where's my car?" My voice came out eerily calm. "Oh, yeah, about that," she giggled. "Surprise! I sold it." The world tilted sideways. "You what? Don't be mad. I got a really good price for it. This collector was super interested, and now Eli and I can afford our dream vacation. We're actually in Hawaii right now. The resort is amazing." I gripped the doorframe so hard my knuckles went white. "You sold Gran's car, my car, without my permission." "Well, technically it was still in Gran's name, and since I'm family, that's not how this works, Callie. That's theft. Oh, please don't be so dramatic." I heard Eli's voice in the background, followed by clinking glasses. "You never even drove it anymore." "I drove it yesterday," I was shouting now. "I literally washed it yesterday." "Look, what's done is done. And honestly, you should thank me. That car was just sitting there most of the time, and now it's helping me live my best life. Isn't that what Gran would have wanted?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Gran would have wanted you to stop acting like an entitled brat and grow up." "Wow." Callie's voice went cold. "You know what? You're just jealous because I'm actually doing something exciting with my life, while you sit around playing accountant with everyone else's money. Gran's dead, Sylvia. Stop using her as an excuse to control everyone." The line went dead. I stood there, staring at my phone until Dad's car pulled into the driveway. One look at my face and he knew. "What happened?" "She sold the Mustang." The words felt like glass in my throat. "To fund her Hawaiian vacation." Dad's face went from confused to shocked to angry in seconds. "She what? How did she even—" "I'm calling her right now. Don't bother." I walked into the house, Dad following. "She's too busy living her best life to care about little things like Grand Theft Auto." "We'll call the police and have my sister arrested." I sank into Gran's armchair. "That'll make Christmas interesting." Dad ran his hands through his hair. "There has to be something we can do." My phone buzzed with a notification. Callie had posted on Instagram a photo of her and Eli on a beach, cocktails in hand. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to make your own magic happen. Blessed, no regrets. Living my best life." Something inside me hardened. I stood up and grabbed my keys. "I need to see Elisa." "Your lawyer? What are you thinking?" I thought about Gran's words about consequences, about responsibility, about the power of attorney documents sitting in my desk drawer. "I'm thinking it's time Callie learned what real control looks like." "Sylvia?" "Don't worry, Dad. I'm not going to do anything illegal." I managed a small smile. "I'm just going to remind my dear sister, who actually holds the purse strings. Just don't do anything your grandmother wouldn't approve of." I touched the empty spot on my key ring where the Mustang's key used to be. "Gran taught me that every action has consequences. Maybe it's time I taught that lesson to Callie." Another notification buzzed. A text from Callie. "The sunset here is gorgeous. You should really learn to live a little, sis." I grabbed my grandmother's power of attorney paperwork from my desk. Callie had always seen it as just another way I controlled her life. She'd never bothered to understand what it really meant, that I had access to every account, every asset, every penny of her inheritance. She'd sold my car to fund her paradise? Fine. Let's see how long paradise lasts when the money runs dry. As I drove to Elisa's office, my phone kept buzzing with more vacation photos from Cali. Each one strengthened my resolve. My sister thought she'd won, thought she'd finally outsmarted her controlling big sister. But she'd forgotten one crucial detail. Gran hadn't just made me executor of her estate. She'd given me complete control over all financial decisions until Callie turned 35, including the ability to freeze every account, cancel every card, and halt every transfer. My sister wanted to play games with family legacy? Fine. Game on. I pulled into Elisa's parking lot, a plan already forming. Callie was about to learn that her Hawaiian paradise came with a price, and the bill was due. She did what? Elisa nearly spilled her coffee across her desk. Please tell me you're joking. I wish. I spread the documents across her desk. Can we freeze everything? Elisa pulled up her computer files, fingers flying across the keyboard. The power of attorney your grandmother left is comprehensive. We can lock down every account connected to the estate. She looked up at me. Are you sure about this? Show me what we can do. For the next hour, Elisa walked me through our options. With each click and signature, I felt a mix of satisfaction and guilt. Credit cards, frozen. Investment accounts, frozen. Monthly allowance, suspended. Elisa checked off each item. The only thing she'll have access to is whatever cash she took with her. My phone buzzed. Another Instagram post from Callie. Helicopter tour booked for tomorrow. Living like royalty. I turned the phone to show Elisa. Looks like she's spending that car money fast. Speaking of which, Elisa pulled out a fresh form. I've already started the paperwork to report the car as stolen. The sale wasn't legal. She had no right to sell it. Can we track down the buyer? Already on it. But Sylvia... Elisa leaned forward, her expression serious. This is gonna get messy. Family feuds always do. She crossed a line, Elisa. She needs to learn. My phone rang. Dad's name flashed on the screen. Hey, Dad. Have you talked to your sister? He sounded worried. Not since this morning. Why? She just called me in tears. Her credit card was declined at some fancy restaurant. I met Elisa's eyes. That was fast. Really? I kept my voice neutral. How strange. Sylvia, what did you do? Nothing illegal, nothing she didn't force my hand into doing. Dad sighed. She's your sister. Yeah, and that car was my inheritance. She can't just... Another call beeped in. Callie. I have to go, Dad. Callie's calling. I switched calls. Yes? What the hell did you do? Callie was practically screaming. We're sitting here with a $400 dinner bill and none of our cards work. Oh no, I said flatly. That must be so embarrassing. Fix this, right now. Like you're going to fix selling my car without permission? That's different. You're literally stranding us here. Funny how actions have consequences, isn't it? I can't believe you're being such a... I heard Eli in the background. Babe, they're saying we need to pay, or they're calling the police. Sounds like you better figure something out, I said. Maybe sell something else that doesn't belong to you. You've lost your mind, Callie's voice cracked. What am I supposed to do? You could try growing up. I ended the call and looked at Elisa, who was trying not to smile. Too harsh? I asked. Personally, I think it's perfect. Professionally, I should advise you to show more restraint. My phone started buzzing with texts. Callie, this isn't funny. Callie, the hotel wants tomorrow's payment. Callie, answer your phone. Callie, you're ruining everything. Then came one from Eli. Hey, this is getting serious. Can we talk? I showed the messages to Elisa. Think they're sweating yet? I'd say so, but what's your end game here? I thought about Gran. about all her lessons on responsibility. She needs to understand that actions have consequences, real ones, not just me lecturing her. And the car? We'll find it. But first, I pulled up my banking app and made a quick transfer. I'm paying for their dinner. Elisa raised an eyebrow. What? I'm teaching her a lesson, not trying to get her arrested. Besides, I smiled as another notification came in. Callie posting a tearful selfie with the caption, "When your sister ruins your dream vacation." I think the message is getting through. You're nicer than I would be, Elisa said, gathering the papers. But what about tomorrow and the next day? Let her sweat it out tonight. Tomorrow we'll talk about conditions for unfreezing the accounts. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a message from Dad. The restaurant called, said someone paid their bill anonymously. Was that you? Maybe, I texted back. You're a good sister, he replied, even when you're being terrible. I looked at the stack of legal documents on Elisa's desk, thinking about Gran's lessons on tough love and responsibility. Callie wanted to act like money was no object? Fine. Let her spend one night learning just how wrong she was. Tomorrow would be soon enough to teach her about redemption. The next morning, I woke up to 37 missed calls and a string of increasingly desperate texts from Callie. The last one, sent at 3 a.m. Hawaii time, simply read, "Please." I was pouring my coffee when Eli called. "Sylvia, we need to talk." His usual laid-back tone was gone. "The hotel's threatening to kick us out." That sounds stressful. Look, I get it. Callie messed up big time with the car, but this is getting scary. I took a sip of coffee. How much cash do you have left? Maybe $100. Everything else is locked up or declined. We can't even book flights home. Interesting. Kind of like how I couldn't drive my car this morning because someone sold it. That was Callie's idea, not mine. His voice cracked. I told her it was crazy, but you know how she gets when she wants something. And yet you're enjoying the benefits of my stolen car. Was enjoying? Trust me, there's no enjoying happening right now. Callie's been crying for hours. My phone buzzed. Another Instagram notification. Despite everything, Callie had posted a photo of herself in a bikini by the pool. Haters trying to bring me down, but still living my best life. She seems fine to me, I said, showing the photo to Dad, who had just walked in. That's from yesterday, Eli sighed. Right now, she's curled up in bed having a meltdown. The helicopter tour company just charged a cancellation fee we can't pay. Dad mouthed, "Be nice at me." "Put her on the phone," I said. There was rustling, then Callie's voice, small and broken. "Sylvia? Having fun? Please, I'm sorry, okay? I messed up. Just make it stop." Like you can just make my car reappear? "I'll fix it. I'll find the buyer. I'll figure something out." "Actually," I said, "Elisa's already tracking down the buyer. Turns out selling something you don't own is illegal. Who knew?" "Are you going to have me arrested?" "I haven't decided yet." Dad shot me a warning look. "What do you want from me?" Callie's voice cracked. "To admit I was wrong?" "Fine, I was wrong. Is that what you want to hear?" "What I want is my car back. What I want is a sister who doesn't treat family legacy like her personal piggy bank. What I want, guests of room 418, please contact the front desk immediately," a voice announced in the background. "Oh God," Callie whispered. "They're going to kick us out." "Sounds like a problem you created." "Sylvia, please, we don't have anywhere to go." Dad grabbed my phone. "Girls, enough. Callie, what you did was wrong, very wrong. But Sylvia, leaving your sister stranded isn't the answer." "She stranded herself," I said, but my resolve was wavering. "Both of you are acting like children. Your grandmother would be disappointed." That hit home, hard. "Fine," I said, taking the phone back. "Callie, Here's the deal. I'll unfreeze one card, enough to get you home, but there are conditions. Anything, she sniffled. First, you're going to help Elisa track down that car buyer. Every call, every email, whatever it takes. Okay. Second, when you get back, we're having a serious discussion about your spending habits with a financial advisor present. But those are the terms. Take them or enjoy sleeping on the beach. There was a long pause. Fine, deal. One more thing, I added. Delete that last Instagram post. What? Why? Because pretending everything's fine when it isn't is part of your problem. I heard her tapping on her phone. Then, done. Happy? Getting there. Check your messages in 5 minutes. There will be enough on the card for flights home and basic expenses. Nothing else. Thank you, she whispered. After hanging up, I looked at Dad. Was that nice enough? He hugged me. Your grandmother would be proud. Well, mostly. I started the process of unfreezing one card with a limited balance, then checked Instagram one last time. Callie had posted a new photo. No filters, no makeup, just her tear-stained face. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from the people who love you most. Coming home to face the music. Reality. Sorry, sis. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. My phone buzzed with a text from Elisa. Found the car buyer. Ready to make some calls? I smiled, one battle at a time. Dad cornered me in Grand's study that evening while I was going through old papers. You did the right thing, he said, leaning against the door frame, but maybe not for the right reasons. What's that supposed to mean? He picked up a framed photo from Grand's desk, the four of us at her last birthday. Your grandmother was tough, but she was never cruel. Cruel? Callie sold my car. And you left her stranded in Hawaii. Only for a day, I muttered, shuffling through more papers. Sylvia. Dad's voice had that tone, the one that always made me feel like a kid again. What's this really about? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Elisa. The buyer's willing to meet, she said without preamble. Tomorrow morning. That's fast. Apparently, he's not thrilled about buying a car with questionable ownership, wants to resolve this quietly. Dad watched as I hung up. Want me to come with you? I'm not a child, Dad. No, but you are angry and hurt and a loud thump from upstairs interrupted him. We both froze, listening. Did you hear that? I whispered. Another thump, followed by the distinct sound of drawers opening. We crept upstairs to find Grand's bedroom door ajar. Inside, papers and photos were scattered across the floor, and standing amid the chaos was Callie. What are you doing here? I demanded. You're supposed to be in Hawaii. She spun around, eyes red and puffy. We got an earlier flight. By breaking into the house? I still have a key. She held up a stack of papers. I was looking for something. In Grand's bedroom, at night? Her diary. Callie's voice cracked. The one she wrote the last year. I needed to understand. Dad stepped between us. Girls, understand what? I cut him off. That actions have consequences? That why she trusted you more than me? Callie threw the papers down. Why she made you executor? Why she gave you the car? Why she... Because I was responsible. Because I didn't sell family heirlooms for vacation money. No, you just used them to control everyone else. Enough! Dad's voice boomed through the room. Both of you, sit down now. We sat on Grand's bed, as far apart as possible. Your grandmother, Dad said quietly, loved you both equally, but differently, because you are different people. He picked up one of the scattered photos, Grand teaching me to drive the Mustang. Sylvia, she gave you responsibility because you showed you could handle it. But sometimes, he gave me a pointed look. Responsibility without compassion becomes control. But she, And Callie. He turned to my sister. She tried to protect you because she saw herself in you. The same free spirit, the same impulsiveness. She wanted you to learn the lessons it took her a lifetime to understand. Callie wiped her eyes. I just wanted, I don't know what I wanted. To prove you didn't need protecting? I suggested, softer now. She nodded. Dad picked up Gran's diary from the floor. Maybe instead of searching for answers in here, you two should talk to each other. I'm sorry, Callie whispered. About the car. About everything. I just. Sometimes it feels like everyone's moving forward except me. And sometimes, I admitted, I forget that protecting you doesn't mean controlling you. Dad handed me the diary. Your grandmother wrote something for both of you in here. She made me promise to share it when you needed it most. He headed for the door. I think that's now. After he left, Callie and I sat in silence, Gran's diary between us. I really am sorry, she said finally. About the car. I I know where the buyer lives. We can go tomorrow. I know. Elisa found him. Of course she did. Callie managed a small smile. Your lawyer friend is scary efficient. Want to come with me to meet him? She nodded. Will you will you read Gran's letter? I opened the diary to where a bookmark stuck out. Gran's familiar handwriting filling the page. To my girls, I read aloud, who are more alike than either will ever admit. Callie moved closer, and for the first time since this all began, I felt the anger start to fade. Maybe Dad was right. Maybe Gran's lessons weren't just about responsibility and consequences. Maybe they were about finding the balance between protecting someone and setting them free. I continued reading, Gran's words filling the room like a warm embrace, bridging the gap between sisters who'd forgotten how to understand each other. My dearest girls, I continued reading Gran's letter, my voice catching. By the time you read this, you'll have probably driven each other half crazy. Callie let out a wet laugh. She knew us too well. Sylvia, my practical one, I read. You've always carried the weight of responsibility like a shield. But shields can become walls if we're not careful. Sometimes protecting those we love means letting them fall. I felt Callie's eyes on me, but kept reading. And Callie, my free spirit, you shine so bright it sometimes blinds you to the shadows you cast. Freedom without wisdom is just another kind of prison. God, Callie whispered, how is she still lecturing us from beyond the grave? The Mustang, I continued, my hands shaking slightly, was never just a car. It was a lesson. Sylvia, I gave it to you because you needed to learn that some things are worth more than being right. And Callie, I didn't give it to you because you needed to learn that some things can't be bought. Well, Callie said quietly, I definitely learned that lesson now. I turned the page. I've watched you both grow into amazing women, but you're still learning how to be sisters. Sylvia, your sister needs your guidance, not your judgment. And Callie, your sister needs your joy, not your rebellion. Tears splashed onto the page. I wasn't sure if they were mine or Callie's. There's more, I said, wiping my eyes. In my desk drawer, there's a box with 2 keys, one for each of you, because sometimes the best way to learn to share is to have something worth sharing. Callie sat up straighter. 2 keys? We rushed downstairs to Gran's study. The drawer stuck, like always, but when I yanked it open, there was the box, exactly where she said it would be. Inside, 2 identical Mustang keys lay on faded velvet. She meant for us to share it, I said softly. All this time, and I sold it. Callie's face crumpled. I ruined everything. My phone buzzed. Elisa confirming tomorrow's meeting with the buyer. Not yet, you haven't. I handed her one of the keys. Come with me tomorrow. Help me get it back. And then what? And then we learned to share, like Gran wanted. Callie turned the key over in her hands. I don't deserve this. Probably not, I agreed. But Gran thought you would, eventually. That's good enough for me. She hugged me suddenly, fierce and tight. I'm so sorry, Sylvia. For everything. I know. I hugged her back. I'm sorry, too, for being more warden than sister sometimes. You were just doing what Gran asked. No, I pulled back to look at her. I was doing what was easy, not what was right. Controlling is easier than teaching. Callie picked up the diary again. P.S., she read, if you're reading this because one of you did something spectacularly stupid, remember, family isn't about keeping score, it's about keeping faith. We both laughed through our tears. She really did know us too well, I said. Think we can live up to what she wanted for us? We can try. I looked at the two keys. Starting tomorrow, together. Callie nodded, then frowned at her phone. Eli's been texting. He wants to know if I'm okay. Are you? Getting there. She typed a quick response. I told him I'm staying here tonight. That okay? Of course. I gestured to Gran's room. But maybe we should clean up the mess you made first. We spent the next hour putting Gran's room back in order, sharing memories as we sorted through photos and papers. Each one seemed to hold a lesson we'd missed before. Look at this one. Callie held up a photo of us as kids, both trying to sit in the Mustang's driver's seat at once. We were literally fighting over it even then. Some things never change, but some things do, she said quietly. Or they can, right? I thought about Gran's words about shields becoming walls, about freedom and wisdom. Yeah, I said, putting the photo back in its frame. They can. Tomorrow we'd face the buyer, try to get the Mustang back. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't fix everything. But for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like we were on the right path. Gran had given us more than just a car. She'd given us a chance to be better, better sisters, better people. We'd just been too busy fighting to see it, until now. The buyer's house was exactly what you'd expect from a classic car collector, a sprawling property with a massive garage that probably held more automotive history than most museums. Callie gripped my arm as we walked up the driveway. What if he won't sell it back? She whispered. Then we'll figure something else out, I said, squeezing her hand. Elisa met us at the door, all business in her suit. Ready? The buyer, Marcus, was a man in his 60s with oil-stained hands and sharp eyes. The Mustang sat behind him in his garage, looking somehow both at home and out of place among his other classics. Ladies, he nodded, wiping his hands on a rag. Quite a situation we have here. I'm so sorry, Callie blurted out. I had no right to sell you the car. He raised an eyebrow. No, you didn't. Could have saved us all some trouble if you'd thought of that earlier. Mr. Marcus, Elisa stepped forward. We're prepared to refund your purchase price, plus reasonable compensation for your time and trouble. Are you now? He walked over to the Mustang, running his hand along its hood. Thing is, I've grown rather attached to this beauty. Don't often see one in this condition, with this history. My heart sank, but Callie spoke up. That history is exactly why we need it back, she said. Our grandmother, Margaret? Marcus turned sharply. This was Margaret's car? We stared at him. You knew our grandmother? I asked. He laughed. Knew her? She beat me in 3 straight races back in '69. Taught me more about cars in one afternoon than I'd learned in years. His expression softened. She still had this beauty when she passed. She left it to me, I said. To us, actually. We just didn't know that part until recently. Marcus looked at Callie. And you sold your grandmother's car for, what was it again? A vacation, she said quietly. I know how that sounds. Sounds like you needed to learn a lesson. He smiled slightly. Margaret was big on those. Trust me, Callie said. Lesson learned. Marcus walked around the car slowly, thinking. Tell you what, I'll sell it back. At my purchase price, no markup. Really? Callie's face lit up. On one condition. He pointed at both of us. You two come back next month for my classic car rally. Margaret always said this car was meant to run, not sit. Deal, we said in unison. While Elisa handled the paperwork, Marcus showed us around his collection, telling stories about Gran that had us alternating between laughter and tears. She was something else, your grandmother, he said, watching as I handed Callie the keys. First time driving at home? Callie shook her head. Sylvia should— No, I interrupted. You drive. I'll navigate. The look on her face was worth every penny we'd spent getting the car back. As we pulled out of Marcus's driveway, Callie handling the Mustang like it was made of glass, my phone buzzed. A text from Eli. How'd it go? Your boyfriend's checking in, I told Callie. Ex-boyfriend, actually. She kept her eyes on the road. We talked this morning. He thought I was overreacting about the whole car thing. Said I should just move on and find another sugar daddy. Wow. Yeah? She smiled slightly. Turns out Gran was right about him, too. In her letter, that part about being blinded by shininess. You okay? Getting there. She patted the steering wheel. This helps. We drove in comfortable silence until she spoke again. I've been thinking about what Gran wrote, about sharing and learning and stuff. Yeah? Maybe. Maybe I could help you with the estate management, learn how it all works, not taking over or anything, just understanding it better. I smiled. I'd like that. And maybe I could be a little less rigid about the allowance thing. Really? Within reason. No more selling family heirlooms for vacations. She laughed. Deal. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Everything okay? I took a photo of Callie behind the wheel, grinning like a kid on Christmas, and sent it to him. Better than okay, I texted back. As we cruised home, the Mustang's engine purring beneath us, I thought about Gran's letter, about shields and walls, freedom and wisdom, about two sisters who needed to fall apart to come back together stronger. Hey, Callie said suddenly, race you to Dad's? In this car? No way. Come on, live a little. She grinned. Gran would want us to. I thought about Marcus's stories, about young Gran racing down empty streets. Okay, I said, but I'm driving back. Callie's laugh echoed through the car as she accelerated, and for the first time in years, I felt like we were finally on the same road. The morning of Marcus's classic car rally dawned bright and clear. I found Callie already in the garage, polishing the Mustang's hood to a mirror shine. You're up early, I said, handing her a coffee. Couldn't sleep. Keep thinking about what Gran would say if she could see us today. Probably something wise and vaguely threatening, I laughed. Dad pulled into the driveway, camera in hand. My girls and their car. Margaret would be proud. Girls and their shared car, Callie corrected, emphasizing the word shared. Though Sylvia does most of the driving since I'm busy with estate management training. Speaking of which, I pulled an envelope from my pocket. I have something for you. Inside was a printed statement showing Callie's new monthly allowance, significantly higher than before. But, she stared at the number, I thought we agreed. You've earned it. 3 months of perfect attendance at financial planning meetings, helping with estate paperwork, even setting up that investment portfolio. Under your supervision, she added quickly. Under my guidance, I corrected. There's a difference. Dad snapped a photo of us hugging over the hood of the Mustang. Come on, he said. You'll be late for the rally. The drive to Marcus's place was everything Gran would have wanted. 2 sisters, 1 classic car, and an open road. Callie handled navigation while I drove, just like we'd been practicing. Marcus met us at the entrance, beaming. Margaret's girls and Margaret's car, He peered inside. You've kept her in perfect condition. We take turns, Callie explained. Sylvia handles maintenance. I handle cleaning. We split driving duties. And how's that working out? I smiled. Better than expected. Much better, Callie agreed. As we lined up for the rally's start, Marcus handed us a folded note. Found this in some old papers. Think Margaret would want you to have it. It was a faded photo of Gran in the Mustang, young and fierce behind the wheel. On the back, she'd written, "Some roads are better traveled together." Ready? I asked Callie, starting the engine. Actually, she got out and walked around to my door. Your turn to navigate. I want to drive. You sure? You've been practicing for this. Gran said some roads are better traveled together. She held out her hand. I want to show you what I've learned. We switched seats, and as Callie adjusted the mirrors, I saw Dad in the crowd, filming everything. Hey, I said softly. Remember when you said I was just jealous because you were living your best life? She winced. I was awful. No, you were right. Just not the way you thought. I was jealous of your freedom, your spontaneity. I was so busy being responsible that I forgot how to be free. And I was so busy being free that I forgot how to be responsible. She gripped the steering wheel. But now we're both learning. The starting flag dropped. Callie handled the Mustang perfectly, taking each turn exactly as we'd practiced. I called out directions, trusting her completely for the first time. We didn't win the rally, didn't even come close. But crossing the finish line, Callie grinning like mad and me cheering beside her, felt better than any victory. Marcus met us at the end, laughing. Margaret would have loved that. Both of you, working together, trusting each other. That's what she wanted all along, I realized. Not for me to control Callie or for Callie to rebel against me. She wanted us to find our balance, Callie finished. Dad joined us, showing off the photos he'd taken. In every single one, we were smiling, laughing, looking like sisters instead of rivals. One last surprise, Marcus said, handing us each a small trophy. Not for winning the race, for best exemplifying the spirit of classic car culture, sharing the joy across generations. Later, as we drove home with our trophies on the dashboard, Callie said, "You know what's weird? I don't even miss Hawaii anymore." No, this is better. Being here, learning all this, sharing the car. It's like getting to know Gran all over again, through you. I reached over and squeezed her hand. Through us. The Mustang's engine hummed beneath us, a sound that had become less about power and more about connection, not just to Gran, but to each other. So, Callie said as we pulled into our driveway, same time next rally? I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw what Gran must have seen all along. Not just the impulsive free spirit or the responsible executor, but something better. Two parts of the same whole. Wouldn't miss it, I said. Partner.